Oh, okay. That's not surprising at all. I guess that should have been our first guess.
That should have really been your first guess.
Yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When in doubt, for cycling, Canadian cycling trivia, guess Steve Bauer. Welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. And with me today is Matt Hansen, 90s Matt. How you doing?
It's just Matt now. You can just call me Matt. It's fine.
No. We need to differentiate between us two Matts. You're 90s Matt.
Okay. Well, how about the funny Matt?
Oh, that's tricky because I think we're both pretty hilarious. And smiling at our banter is Terry McKall. Thank you, Terry, for joining us all the way from Victoria.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Today, we have a different style of episode planned. I'm keen to get on with it. It was inspired by the latest edition of the magazine that's out. It says Buyer's Guide on the cover, but it's also got a ride guide. And as I was putting this ride guide together with the help of writer Dean Campbell, I thought of all the mistakes I've made over the years at big fondos or gravel rides. So into this ride guide, I peppered some of what I call my hard-won wisdom. Mistakes, also known as mistakes, I'm really trying not to make again. So I thought we would meditate on this subject a bit because I know we all have a lot of experience doing different events of various sizes and difficulty. Also, I want to catch up on racing that Canucks have been doing around the world. So, you guys ready to get into it?
Yep. So ready.
Absolutely.
You guys are feeling the stoke. All right, let's chat racing. All right, we're recording close to the end of March. We've seen a lot of action spring racing in Europe, and top of my mind is still Milan-San Remo. I love that race. I think it's so cool. It's so long. Matt, what did you think of the race?
I mean, what's great is to see all the favorites in the finish, right? Like whenever one has good luck, there's no problems, there's no outsiders. I mean, you saw the best in the world going up that Poggio and going down it too. So, I mean, I think we're going to see this all year. As we've seen at other races, you're going to see Pogacar and you're going to see Van Aert, you're going to see Mathieu van der Poel a lot. I actually like seeing Ganna. That was cool. I like seeing that guy. If you think about the watts that Van der Poel did up that climb, Ganna's got to be twice as big as him, so he was not twice as big. Of course, they're still, super lean, but he must have just been putting out major watts up that climb.
Yeah, it was very cool to see him in the mix. It made the finale that much more interesting, that much more exciting to see a new player, or maybe not a player we necessarily expected in the finale. I spoke with Derek G for an upcoming story. He's one of the few Canadians on Israel Premier Tech. It's his first year at the high level of the team. He was on Israel Startup Nation last year. He did his first Milan-San Remo, and I asked him what it was like, and he said, well, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said it was kind of like a 200-kilometer group ride at first, and then at 100 kilometers to go, it's like everyone was behaving like there was 5 kilometers to go. It just gets kind of ratcheted up, even though there's still 100 kilometers left of racing. And then once they got to the Poggio, he wasn't one of those guys who had anything in the legs for attacks, but his job was to help his teammates. And what was interesting is that he was tired afterwards, but he wasn't, let's say, so shelled. He's actually done, say, shorter races that have left him more wiped out in the following days than Milan-San Remo. So I thought that was an interesting perspective from a racer.
I think one of the commentators even said that too. It's 300K long. First of all, I think you got some tailwinds, so you're just cruising along. But I think it's such a neat race because it's so almost ridiculous, but also amazing that you do 300K and it comes down to like the last 10 or 5. Well, not even the Poggio itself, but that massive sprint to get to the front. But they're saying that like it's a race that is exceptionally long but goes by quick. So I guess he knows what he's talking about, clearly, since none of us have done it. None of us ever will.
No, I don't even think I'll ever ride 300 kilometers in one shot. I don't know. In other racing news, Matt, I know you're a keen observer of cycling kit, whether that's retro Mondrian stuff or even the latest threads, but you noticed a certain mismatch in the UAE Tour just recently.
Yeah, I guess they had a stage out in the middle of the desert, obviously. That was a couple hours away from the hotel, and the French national champion, Audrey Cordon-Ragot, realized she forgot her kit. She thankfully brought her shoes. That's like the worst thing, right, to forget your shoes. But she had a long sleeve national championship jersey, but she didn't have shorts. Well, thankfully, Maggie Coles-Lister is one of those types that checks her kit bag 17,000 times before a race and always has extra stuff. So she managed to lend her. They were still the right ZAF team shorts, but they were just basically the Canadian national championship jersey because she's national road champion. But it's just like, I can't imagine that woman showing up, looking at her bag going, oh, merde. Oh, no, oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. But like I said, Maggie is one of those psychos who apparently checks her race bag 15,000 times. And I totally feel for that because that's my biggest fear is to forget your shoes, right? Like use someone else's shoes.
That's a, very multinational kit. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
One bit of cycling news that sort of went under the radar is Olivia Barrel from Rouyn-Noranda, Quebec. She was actually in our magazine last year where we did a feature on young riders to watch. She finished 5th overall at the Setmana Ciclista, 4-stage race in Spain. And she wrote about it on her Instagram that 3 years ago she was 7 minutes behind Annemiek van Vleuten, and now she's just 7 seconds behind that star rider. So it's exciting to see that her progress. Oh, and if I'm not mistaken, she also took the points jersey in that race. So that's some good news, again, on the racing front abroad.
It's crazy how every day, though, I feel like, there was a time when you wouldn't hear a lot about Canadian cyclists abroad, having success at least. You would here and there, but now it's like every day you hear about someone having some fantastic result, in all categories.
Terry, let's get you in the hot seat. You are, of course, our mountain bike editor, and you're covering that beat very closely. What are some of the early season signs, signals, stats that have caught your attention?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a late start for men biking this year. Cross-country World Cup doesn't start until mid-May, and downhill, they don't get to race until June in Lenzerheide. But there has been some early season racing in Europe and Puerto Rico for the cross-country racers. And we've had some success there. Carter Woods won under 23 race in Xelva in Spain. Jen Jackson was on the podium a week before that at a Shimano Super Cup, also in Spain. Down in Puerto Rico, there's a whole bunch of Canadians. And we saw Andrew Lesperance and Leandro Bouchard and Haley Smith and actually Cindy Montalban leading those results. But there is a big group of younger riders that are also pushing those kind of established Canadians. So that's kind of exciting to see what will happen when the bigger races do get going. Oh, and after that, Emily Johnson also landed her first elite women's top 10 in a HC race at a Swiss Cup. So that's a pretty competitive field, and she's just an under 23 rider still, so that's also pretty exciting.
I noted that result, and the Swiss Bike Cup, I'm racking my brain because there's some other Canucks who have participated in those races, and it's a significant circuit on the scene, and a result there does carry a lot of weight.
I mean, the Swiss are perpetually the top-ranked nation in cross-country racing, so it means that National Series is not far below a World Cup in terms of difficulty.
Now, you mentioned downhill. The official season is still a ways away, but Jackson Goldstone, the downhill phenom, who's in his first year as an elite, he's already racked up a good result, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, they have a weird 8-month off-season this year because there's just such a long gap until they start racing. So that's me letting some of the guys have a bit of fun. And he was down in the Southern Hemisphere and stopped by both Australian and New Zealand downhill nationals and took those. You can't officially win either, but it's always kind of fun to show up and show that you're faster on their home turf.
I bet you they love that.
Yeah, sure, they really appreciate it. But I mean, those are both really strong countries too. So for him to have the fastest time in both of those races in his first year as an elite, it's pretty exciting to see what he's going to do this year.
Some good news that's been developing over the last few months, since December, I think is when we first got wind of it, when Cycling Canada published its calendar. An old favorite was in the list, and it was the Tour of Gatineau. It was probably better known as the Grand Prix Cycliste de Gatineau, but now there's the Tour of Gatineau. This race has, suffered because of the pandemic, but it was on shaky ground even before COVID hit. Near the end of 2019, there was a change in who would be running the race. The original organizers were no longer going to be supporting it, and Cycling Canada and the Quebec Federation were going to take it up, but then pandemic. There was talk of it coming back, and just this month, it seems even more likely to happen because we're getting news that Caroline Canuel, former national champion and Olympian, who's been on the podcast, and she's been on the podium of the Chrono de Gatineau 4 times. Remember, this event has a time trial and a road race. She is the executive director, and she is getting support from Alex Catterford. What connections, quiz time, what connections do these two have to the Ottawa, Outaouais, Gatineau region?
Alex Catterford's from Ottawa.
Ding, ding, ding. And Caroline Canuel is from Amos, Quebec, but she's studied in Gatineau and really does consider the Gatineau race her home race. This race started in 2010, and we've covered it a lot online in the magazine. Yeah, I've been to multiple editions, so it's a great race. It's helped develop talent here. It's also attracted talent from abroad. Some of the names include 2-time world champion Giorgia Bronzini. She's won the road race, and same with Kirsten Wild. If you look at the last edition of the Tour de Gatineau road race, you will see names like Olivia Beryl and Magdalene Valliers-Mill. It just shows you what a development vehicle this is. So that's a cool development on the road. A cool development on the trails is the We Are One Canadian Enduro League. Terry, can give us some of the skinny on that wider tire event?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot happening on the Canadian scene right now. Like Trent Rockies is turning 20, Dunbar Summer Series for downhill expanded to 4 events. Craigworks is pouring a ton of money into downhill to pick up that. But on the enduro side, We Are One Canadian Enduro League is back. It's got a new name. It's got an expanded ownership team, and it is back in Ontario and Quebec for the first time since 2019, which makes it a bit more of a national series. And it's more important than ever this year with the changes in the Enduro World Cup. It's now the only qualifier event for Canadians that are looking to move up to the Enduro World Cup level. That is more important because there's also no North American rounds on the World Cup this year. So it's really hard for Canadians to move up. And we're having a bit of a moment in Enduro with Jesse Melamed and Emmy Lamb both winning titles last year, and a ton of Canadians in the top 10. So it's exciting to see that league back and growing.
And We Are One is the title sponsor. They are based in BC. They make pretty cool hoops. But I hear their effect on the series is, or on the league, is more than just lending their name to the title and maybe a couple of bucks here and there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't always include like title sponsors in when we talk about race names, but they're doing something pretty cool where they stepped on to help the Canadian Enduro League drop race entry fees. Where most races are more expensive these days, they're helping to drop the entry fees to what they were in 2019. That's awesome because it makes racing more accessible for more people, and I think that's a really cool move from the BC-based company. The league's also offering a full refund policy this year, which is kind of crazy and definitely a first for a series, but if you have a bad time, something goes wrong, you can get like a full refund even after the race.
This episode of the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is supported by MS Bike. Let me tell you, I'm excited for the season to begin. I'm already doing more outdoor rides and fewer indoor ones. Now, I know it's a big country and many of you are still trainer-bound for a little while longer, but it's not too early to start planning a big cycling challenge for the year. I recommend taking on an MS bike ride. There are events in 7 provinces. They are fully supported. At each ride, you'll get food, drink, and roadside assistance. And there's an added element. You'll be helping others. The fundraising you'll do as part of an MS bike event will help those with MS. So give your riding some focus and some purpose. Head to msbike.ca. Register and start fundraising. All right. Are we going to close up the racing portion of our chat and move on to the hard-won wisdom, which is not necessarily racing related, but kind of racing related. And as I mentioned off the top, I was inspired by this idea based on mistakes that I continue to make. Sometimes I should know better than to make them. And I'll give you one example. This one actually stings a bit. Years ago, I didn't charge the batteries on my Di2 shifter. And you may think, oh, wah, you have a Di2. Like, call the ambulance. And you didn't charge it. But this goes to any sort of race prep, whether it's just checking your cables, checking air in your tires, like our friend, the national champion, checking to see that you've packed your kit. So it speaks to that. And since that edition where my shifters ran out in the middle first quarter of a gran fondo, so I was spinning too much on the flats. I was grinding on the climbs. Just nothing was good. Anyway, I've since, I thought, learned my lesson. So this is what I wrote in the latest issue of the magazine, this little anecdote. But sure enough, just as this thing is going to press, I'm on the trainer and my Di2 battery runs out. So this is radio. You can't all see Matt shaking his head in disappointment. But there you go.
We're supposed to learn from our mistakes. You say this to me every day. Every day you say this to me. Every day.
Yeah, well, I too make mistakes, even ones I thought I had completely remedied. Even ones I put into print as declaring that they're fixed. No, I've erred. I have erred. You got anything there, bud? You got any hard-won wisdom you want to share?
I will say, just doing races again and obviously not being quite as fit, not just pacing in the sense of like blowing up, but kind of knowing that when it's early, you're going to feel better, a lot better. And knowing that you only have a certain amount of fuel in the tank. I think measuring out your efforts, like say you want to break away or something like that is so important. And also finding the right spot to break away. Like when it feels good and easy for everyone else, that's the worst place to attack because it feels great and easy for everyone else. So attacking down a hill, unless you're Pogacar or something like that, is not going to help. You find places where it's hard and you make the effort and you realize that you only have a certain amount of efforts to give.
Yeah, that's another thing that I should know better after doing numerous big events, pace yourself. But I don't know. I'm just so excited usually at the beginning of an event, whether it's like Paris to Ancaster or Reggie Ramble. I'm just like, yeah, let's go. And then, yeah, that bites me definitely after about 2 hours.
Well, it's funny when you think about that race we were talking about earlier, Milan-San Remo. It's this 300-kilometer race. I've always said that road cycling comes down to like 5 minutes or 1 minute or 30 seconds, the decisiveness. When everyone's tired and that one guy or girl, man or woman, breaks away, it could be 6 hours long, but it comes down to a minute, right? So you have to pick your minutes and know that, it's important to pick the right time to use that fuel in your tank, as opposed to the first kilometer of a race, when you break away down a hill. I think it dropped.
Yeah, you're not going to win in the first kilometer.
No, well, you might, but if it was a kilometer long, if it's a kilo, yeah.
Thank you. If it's the kilo, yes, of course. Terry, you got any wisdom for us?
I don't know. I don't race that hard, and I definitely don't win races, so it's not hard won wisdom. But I think just worrying about making mistakes. unless you're repeating them, that's the point of racing. Like, you can't learn to race without racing, so just go out there, do things, and then figure out what to do better next time.
Yeah, fair enough. Just, well, maybe the key there is make new mistakes.
Yeah. I think so many people wait to do a race until they think they're absolutely perfectly ready and want to have everything go to plan. But I mean, nothing ever goes to plan. And like, I've never regretted a race that I did enter. I've only regretted it when I've missed out on registrations, and I've already missed out on a couple this year. So maybe I'm not learning from that. But even when I wasn't prepared as I wanted to be, or it was harder than I expected, or things didn't go right, it's always a good time to go out and race. I still learn something from every race. So I guess just get out there.
I think there's real joy too from completion, like I still like the feeling of finishing a race or a ride or whatever, a fondo, and having that bottle of water, like just knowing you did it, and like it's a little different than thinking, oh, I got to win. But just having that feeling that you and a bunch of other people did X, Y, Z, and then having that feeling afterwards. I mean, I quite enjoy that.
Going back to something Terry said, you don't regret a race you signed up for, regardless of the results. And I should also add, listeners, we don't necessarily mean like races. Like I make these mistakes in fondos, in just any old event.
So basically, you make a mistake in all. You don't discriminate. You make a mistake in all forms of cycling. Okay, that's great. Cyclocross, fondos, road, mountain bike, BMX, everything. You screw it up every time. Okay.
Exactly. But there's the pre-race dread, which is absurd, and I've never understood it. Like, you sign up. This is more for cross races.
This is mostly you. I think this is mostly a you thing, the pre-race dread.
No, I know there's other people. I swear there's other people, not just me. You don't have a pre-race dread?
No, I'm like, wow, this will be fun today.
No, and I don't know what I'm dreading, to be honest, because like my logical brain is like, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna race, whatever happens, happens. I'm gonna ride really hard. It'll be fun. It'll be fine. And okay, I know you're lying, Matt. I know you're lying. I remember vividly an event last year where there was I don't know if this is your preparation, just a lot of talk about a race and like how it's going to go. Because I remember telling you, I think what I was just saying now, you're going to go, you're going to ride, whatever happens, it'll be fine.
Well, I mean, that's just it though. Like, there's always nerves before a race. If you don't have any nerves, you're not doing anything fun, but it's just how you frame them. Like, you can be doing the same thing as the person next to you, but like Matt's having fun doing that. Or sorry, 90s Matt is having fun with those nerves, whereas you're framing it as dread.
No, I know. Dread's a bad word because it's like I enjoy all of it, but I don't know. Let's call it nerves. Nerves, Terry, is a better term than dread.
I definitely know there was times when like I did something saying, wow, this wasn't fun when I was fit. Why am I doing it now when I'm not as fit? Like cyclocross. Like cyclocross is awful, whether you're on your A game or you're washed up. Like it's not fun.
No way. It's always over. It's always so close to being over, even before the start. Like, it's never going to hurt that much. It's the best.
I agree with Terry. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So this feels like almost like a resolution, but I got a few of them. I'm going to charge my batteries right after this, after we finish talking. I do need to work on my fueling a bit more. And then pacing, like you, 90s Matt. Pacing is always a tricky one.
I mean, I think this liquid nutrition thing, which is, of course, new to me now.
Because you've been bread and water for so many years?
Yeah, pretty much bread and water, aqua panna. But no, but I mean, I think that's kind of a neat way of doing it, too, especially if you're doing anything off-road, like it's so hard to. I remember I was doing some of these gravel races early on, and I had a bar, and I'm like, how do first of all, I was already nervous riding in a pack for the first time in 20 years, but then taking my hands off my handlebars in the middle of the pack and then trying to open up some of those bars, as opposed to just having a bottle of liquid nutrition. I mean, it sure makes things easier.
Let me share my secret fueling strategy with you, with everybody. It works great. You get like a soft tortilla wrap, throw some hummus in it, roll it up, make a bunch of those.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Goes down easy.
Also have peanut butter and jam one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of have them in your jersey pocket, in a bag. And then it's easy to grab and kind of get the wrap out on the go and then jam it into your pocket.
And tortillas go down easier. Like I remember, like sometimes on a really, really long race, they would give you like a sandwich in your back pocket. And bread is great, but like a tortilla, like tortilla with peanut butter and jelly is great, or peanut butter and honey, and it gives you some calories.
Yeah, nothing's better than sticky hands for the last couple hours of a race.
Well, gels have made my handlebars quite gooey in the past, so...
In your back pocket, too, because apparently we can't litter anymore. Those days are over.
Oh, wow. You're really put out by the fact that you can't litter.
No, I always... Actually, that's one of my big pet peeves. I've been on group rides with people who are... I feel like they're relatively good people. I respect them as human beings. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that guy just throws... Like, they're riding along, and they just take their power bar or whatever, and they throw the... What did you just do? Put it back in your pocket. Like, what's wrong with you?
It's way of the dirty pocket and the clean pocket.
I agree with you 100%. And yes, Terry, you need to have jersey pocket management. Not only do you have to have a fueling strategy, you have to have...
It's like breading chicken. You got your dry ingredients, you got your wet ingredients. You don't mix your hands. Everyone knows that.
It's like breading chicken. Okay.
It is like when you make chicken cutlets. You know, you got your dry bowl. You don't mix the egg and the it's the same deal.
Right. Don't put the empty gel wrapper in the same jersey pocket with your smartphone.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
All right. Listeners, I hope you gleaned some wisdom from this. All right, gents. All right, buddies. This episode is dropping. Do the kids still say that these days?
No, because it doesn't make sense, because that's only for a record. Something you and I know. You can't drop a podcast.
So this platter isn't dropping onto the turntable?
No.
All right, Hepcats. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to Flanders, because this episode is coming out just days before the Tour of Flanders. Because we're a bit early in our recording, the start lists have not been finalized. But man, if E3 is any indication, I feel like there are 3 guys who are going to be on the podium.
Well, there always are usually 3 people on the podium.
Thank you. 3 specific...
Unless you're in a mountain bike race.
Right. How many are on the podium there, Terry? Like 25?
No, just 5. Only in downhill.
Just 5. 3 specific gentlemen in the men's race. I feel like it's just going to... Well, actually... E3, the podium was Wout van Aert, Matthew van der Poel, Tadej Pogačar. One gentleman who wasn't at E3 is Tom Pidcock, so maybe let's throw that name into the mix. But really, I'm hard-pressed to think of a podium that doesn't include some variation of those 4 guys. But only 3 of them. As I understand, there's only 3 of them on the podium.
Correct.
Great. Anybody got a dark horse pick?
I mean, I think Pidcock, in a weird way, as good as he is kind of the dark horse, because the 3 you just mentioned, remember last year, Pogačar couldn't drop Van der Poel. As long as Van der Poel can stay on his wheel, like he's going to outkick Pogačar in the sprint. And same with Wout. If Wout can stay there, then, I mean, between the 2 of them. But, I mean, Pidcock, I think, as well as great as he's been riding Strade Bianche, I still think that he's not in the top. Like, he's just that one little bit behind those 3 guys right now. And I'd love to see the otherwise. And I think also... I don't think his sprint is close to the Belgian and the Dutch. So, like, again, even if he comes to the finale with them, I don't think he's going to be able to beat those guys. So that's why I'm saying he is a dark horse, even though he's, one of the best in the world, which is kind of sort of exemplary of how wild the situation is right now, that these 3 riders are winning everything.
I'll tell you my dark horse pick, Benoit Cosnefroy of AG2R Citroën. Yeah, he won the Quebec Grand Prix last year. And in the team photo, he basically has the same glasses I had in grade 9. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. So I have a soft spot for him.
So you're just basically judging the rider on his glasses.
He has won a major race.
Yeah, no, I'm not doubting he's one of the world's best, but it's the sunglasses that's doing it for you. Or the glasses, rather.
His RX glasses, his corrective lenses. Yeah, they're great. Okay, quiz time. What Canadian has the best finish at a Tour of Flanders?
I don't even want to guess.
You guys aren't going to get this. I know you're not going to get this.
Who?
Joël Newmanville.
Oh!
Third in 2012.
So who do we think is going to win the women's race this year?
I don't know. Like I said, the start list at the time of our recording is major thin. But let's see the names that are there. Well, there's Annemiek van Vleuten, Anna Maria Vos.
Kopecky?
Yep, Lotte Kopecky is slated, but I don't know if her teammate is supposed to be there, Demi Vollering. Are they allowed to race together anymore after the Strade Bianche? Who's going to win? Are you going to win? Am I going to win?
Just don't get in a breakaway together.
Yeah, no, that's a tough one for me to call this. And I don't know who has glasses like I had in grade 9, so that would really tip the scales for me. Oh, Lisa Longo Borghini is going to be there, so I don't know. For me, that's a tough one to even hazard a guess at this point. All right, next quiz, Flanders related. Which Canadian man has had the best finish at Flanders?
I don't know. That's a good question.
The answer will not surprise you.
What's the answer?
Steve Bauer.
Oh, okay. That's not surprising at all. I guess that should have been our first guess.
That should have really been your first guess.
Yeah, pretty much everything, yeah.
Yeah. When in doubt, for Canadian cycling trivia, guess Steve Bauer.
Yeah. What year was that? What was his position and what was his best finish?
Okay. He's been fourth twice, once in 1986 and once in 1987. In 86...
Was he on Live? I remember, now I suddenly have this picture of him in a hairnet. I can see it in my mind going up the Koppenberg or whatever in La Vie Claire kit.
It was La Vie Claire in 86. And then the winner in 86 was Matthew van der Poel's dad.
His dad raced? Wow.
Are you kidding me?
What are the odds?
Didn't he lap you in a cross race at one time?
Yeah, I was almost going to finish a World Cup, and I had like 10 minutes to go, and that guy went by me going about 18,000 times faster.
Anyway, in 87, again, Bauer was fourth. Do you know who won that year?
Claude Coquillon.
Yes, he did. And, well, that's just the significance of that, or what that signifies now is kind of impressive. Because, of course, in 88, at the Road Worlds, Claude Coquillon crashed in the finale. Steve Bauer was blamed. There was even a lawsuit that came later against Steve Bauer. Ultimately, the judge ruled Steve Bauer was not at fault, but it was just it was a nightmare for Steve.
Well, there's that great image of because it was in Belgium as well, and you know how fans can get heated. There's a great image of Le Mans, who I think had quit because I think that was when he's on PDM or something like that, and he wasn't quite at his same fitness. And Le Mans had his arm around Bauer, right? And Bauer's looking around, and he's nervous, I think, that someone's going to come after him because, you know, they like cycling in Belgium.
Yeah, it was not a good time for Steve, unfortunately. Anyway, I just thought those little factoids from the past were pretty interesting. I am definitely looking forward to Flanders. I'm going to have both the Flanders streaming this weekend. Gentlemen, thank you for your insights, racing and hard-won wisdom and otherwise. Let's do this again sometime.
But not today.
And that's the episode. Thank you again, Matt and Terry.
It was really fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, wow. I can really hear it in your voices. You guys really bring the stoke here. By the end of this episode, you're just exhausted, right? You gave it your all. You were full send the whole time. That's what I'm hearing?
Yep.
We went too hard off the start.
Thanks also to Adam Killick. He produces the show and he does the music too. Thank you also to Ontario Creates for its support. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. Rate and review the show. Make sure you subscribe if you're just tuning in for the first time. Click the old subscribe button. And also subscribe to the magazine. We still, to this day, put out a fabulous print product. It's also available digitally, but the print product, it's great. The Buyer's Guide is out now. Subscribe. Ride safe. I'll talk to you later.